pencil. You know, yellow's my favorite. All I'm going to do is point out some, let's see. Yep, I'm on. Point out some vocabulary and give you the recipe. You guys like to cook? You guys like to cook? Yeah, that's all this is a recipe. The only thing new to this recipe is I'm going to give you permission to take logarithms. I don't, math does. Of both sides of an equation, and you can march on. Why would you want to do that? Because you've got a variable in your exponent. And that's the purpose of a log. Remember, the answer to a log question is an exponent. So if you can get that exponent out of there using the property of logarithms, then you've got your, you've done cooked the soup. Okay? So ready? Papers? There are several steps here. We have 6. And then will be a step 0. So this won't take very long. We'll get into the homework. So do yourself a favor. Pay it forward. Pay attention now so the homework is easier. Okay, the purpose of this lesson is solving exponential equations. You've done that before. I've given you this equation and you've answered it because you know 5 squared is 25. Why is it tagged exponential equation? Because the variable's in the exponent. That's our job for this lesson. All right. Last lesson we learned the properties. This lesson we're going to use them. So the only thing new I'm going to give you permission to do, or math is going to give you permission to do, is that in step 1, if you have a base to an exponent, you could take the log of both sides. Now, I think we could do that, don't you? That's the only new thing. Otherwise, from the last lesson, you learned the power property of logarithms give you the permission to take the exponent and write it as a multiplier. So step 1, write the log of both sides. Step 2, move that exponent down as a multiplier. They call it bring it down. So me, if this is my question, I would combine these 2 steps, just saying, okay? I would look at this problem and write x plus 2 out to the side and then log of those 2 bases, okay? So save yourself a little pencil. But for the sake of learning the game, they split it out to show you what just happened and why you can do that in Corla law. Okay, the next thing is step 3 and 4 are about the same because it's just solving for x. You start getting x alone by division. Now, if you in Algebra 1, that's not necessarily the first step, but for this lesson in 16.2, that's probably the first step in getting x alone is dividing by the logarithm. Now you know anything goes, depending on what your exponent is, you would subtract the 2 to move it to the right. Okay, we're almost done. In the homework, when we get to the equations, there's a few graphs before we get to the equations. We get to the equations, this will be the first answer because this is exact. And then you plug this into the calculator. You know how to do that. Oops. I was messing around. There we go. Put my fraction, my LOG 500 looks like goes first, over my LOG of 6. And then I'm going to subtract 2. Right? Does that look like I'm doing it right? I'm lazy. I didn't close out my logs, but I think because I'm moving out of the fraction, it's okay. And then you round usually to 3 decimal places. So this is the approximate. So in your equation answers, you're going to have to put both. That's what's going to be the pickle. You can't just jump to the decimal. You've got to enter what got you the decimal in the first place, all right? Now the amazing thing, like some of the other lessons we had solving equations, you've got an automatic check. If I put my solution into my original equation up here, right here, I can see if I'm right. Well, the original equation said 6x plus 2 equals 500. Well, you got to remember I rounded my exponent, so therefore it's not going to be exact. But if I round my solution, then I've got the truth. And don't forget that when you face the test. That's what I love about algebra. If you're willing to take the time, you can check to see if your answer is right. So I would suggest that. That way you only have to do the assignment once and get a good grade instead of redo. And you're guaranteed an A+ on the test. Good thing. Okay, we'll do a couple of these examples and we'll get to the homework. That's all, guys. That's it. You just learned how to solve an exponential equation using properties of logarithms. Fair and square? You can do this thing. I'm just going to highlight what you learned. Let's see. I don't know. Should we do number 1 since there's a negative in it? Negatives are always nasty. Okay. They logged. See, my base was alone, so they took the logarithm of both sides, and they moved the exponent to the as a multiplier. So that was step 1. Step 2, and now step 3. We've got to get the x alone. So we're going to divide both sides by the log of 4. And so I have a negative x is the log 32 over the log of 4. And then to move this negative sign, I need to either divide both sides by a -1 or multiply both sides by -1, whichever one you want to do. I like to divide. Then I get my answer out as about, do my fraction. Oh, it's supposed to be divided by -1. There we go. Fraction, clear, fraction, log 32 over log 4. Pickles. I will spare you my calculator mess here. Divided by -1. Now, if you were going to put this in the software for the exact, they don't want you to write divide by -1. They would want you to write as a multiplier. If you want to make that note. So dividing by a -1 is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of a -1? -1. So it's about, and my lead is about done. I suppose I'm about out. -2.5. Oh, looky there. It was exactly -2.5. When I put it in the calculator, it didn't have to round it. How do I know if that's right? I can go over here in my exponent, a negative of a -2.5, 32. So 4 to the 2.5, is that 32? Put it in. 4 to the 2.5. Yep. Sure. I know my two answers are right. Okay, let's do number 2. I took the log of both sides. Then they move their exponent, right? Let's catch the rhythm. Now we got to get x alone. So divide by log of 3. Equals. So now I have 4x is log 90 over log 3. Now for me it'd be easy just to divide by 4, divide by 4. But you could do that to find your calculator. But in your software, you have to not write it as a division of 4. You have to write it as a multiplying by 1/4. Okay? I went through the examples and saw that. So you don't get it wrong. And maybe it'll take this, I don't know, but they want you to write it as 1/4 times log of 90 over log of 3. But for me, it's easier for me to put it in the calculator. And maybe it doesn't bother you. And then I just pop it out and put divided by 4. Dividing by 4 and dividing by 1 or multiplying by 1/4 is the same thing. So I would write this in my first box, and my second box, I got to round it, 1.024. Okay, and number 3 is like our example above, so we'll just go to the software, if you would please. I'm going to show it on the screen since I'm recording, but you can go to your HMH 16.2. Right there. And the first 5 problems are just reading the graph. You don't even have to graph it. All you have to do is read the graph. Yay. So I'll give you a sec. Everybody there on their iPads. Use your time wisely, guys. Now's the time. Do your homework now. Why not? Right?
Do it now.
Why not? You're here. Why not? Unless you like to waste your life. I'll go do it now. You'll be glad you paid attention. It'll bring your anxiety level, if you have any about math, clear down. See, they went ahead and graphed it for you. You do not have to use Desmos. That last one, I don't remember, I think it was compound interest, you had to use Desmos. And of course, this won't be on a test, but they want you to understand what it looks like on a graph, because graphs and algebra, you know, they're married. So here we go. They took this side of the equation and made the blue curve. They took this side of the equation and made the red line. Where do they intersect? It says round your answer to 1 decimal place. Which number do I use? Well, not the red line, that's the y. 26.4. Okay? You want me to zoom out a little so you can see my both things? I can do that. I think. Perhaps. How's that? Everybody put their X in, round to 1 decimal place. Please and thank you. Do I need to name names? You're being recorded. Smile, you're on a candid camera. Are y'all done? You done? Number 1? Maybe need more time? Okay. Go back and listen to this video. Okay. Number 2, they had to graph 2 curves. That was kind of them. Enter your answer to the nearest hundredth. They already know which one do I look for. The X variable tells me where these 2 are equal. So when X is, it says hundredth, that's 2 decimal places, 0.14. You've got the answer. So when I put the X equals 0.14, these 2 are the same. So if you remember compound interest, they wanted to know how many years it took them so they both earned $2,000 or whatever. That's what's going on here too. They're just taking two different scenarios. Where would you get that? Probably from a banking question. And then they're going to see where they are the same, where the input is the same. Okay, number 3. Only one decimal place again. It's a very big exponent because I'm going from 480 to 4. So I have to multiply it by a very small value, which makes a large, a large denominator on the fraction. So a fraction is a negative one decimal place, negative 239.4 for me. You do you. So solving equations graphically isn't all bad. Not very accurate, but it's useful. And it gives you practice rounding. That doesn't hurt anybody. I didn't know rounding was such a big deal till I had to take care of life myself. All right, here's 2 equations. Where do they meet? Oh boy, it says nearest 1,000. So 0, 9, 9. The 9 change the 9 to the 10. The 1 change the 9 to the 10. So I have to put in negative 0.100 because I need to round 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places. Okay? Know your place values. Definitely a weakness because we don't talk about them, we just use them. So when they start naming things, it gets confusing. Any questions on your rounding? Oh no, you're doing this one. What, you're rounding? No, look at your numbers. Okay, so 0. You don't change until the third. 8. Okay, the 6 makes the 6 change to a 7. Okay, that's what how you round. Okay. Anybody else? Nah. Okay. It's a skill, and I wasn't very good at it for a long time. Just, it's so not, like I can't put it in a calculator, you know what I mean? Okay, where do these 2 meet? Mine meet at 3.59. It says 1 decimal place, so I'm going to up it to 3.6 because the 9 changed the 5 to a 6. That's an interesting question. It's clear to the top. Okay, now we're on to our equation. Honeymoon's over. Now we're going to get to work. Get our recipe out. It says use common logarithms. That means use the LOG button on your calculator. Don't use the LN button. That's natural. So when we get to that, I will help you understand why did they differentiate. I'll let you know. You want me to zoom out again? My numbers better? Maybe. Okay, you're going to have to, get your whiteboard out or your notes out because yours is not the same numbers as mine unless they are. And I doubt it. You got to follow the pattern. Follow the recipe. Making my camera crazy here. Okay. So remember my step 0 I was going to warn you about? You see how my power is not alone? That's going to be my step 0. Get the power refers to the base and the exponent, but a lot of times people call the exponent a power, including me. So what I'm going to do is add 13 to both sides. So my result is 4 to the 2x minus 4 upstairs there in the exponent, equals 9. So you guys all will have that first 0 step. So if you got something messing with the power, you got to move it. Whether it's being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided, you got to get it out of there. Now I can do step 2 and 3. Remember, I like to do them together. I put my exponent off to the side. Then I write my log of 4 equals log of 9. So I combined my 2 steps together. I put log, and then moved it off to the side. Is that okay? Is it too much? Just look at the pattern, take a picture, write it down on your paper, think about it. What just happened? We're almost there. I'm sorry, not step 2 and 3, steps 1 and 2. That's what I was going to say. Step 3 is solving for x. Step 1 and 2, I apologize. I put those together. Now step 3 is solve for x. So I got to divide by log of 4. And so I have my 2x minus 4. Parentheses aren't necessary anymore because these cancel. Am I still on the screen? I am. Not. The log of 9 over the log of 4. Okay, I got to untangle this mess. This is Algebra 1. First, I get rid of the 4 by adding. So those cancel. So I have 2x equals, am I still on? Yep. Log of 9 over log of 4 plus 4. I divide by 2 on this side, so it cancels, but the software wants you to multiply by 1/2. So it fits in their little box like they want it. Dividing by 2 is just like multiplying by 1/2. I know that's a challenge. So this goes in your first box. That's your exact answer. But then you get to grab your calculator, put this in, have it sing the song, and you get, let me see, it says round to 3 decimal places up there in the directions. So when I do that, I get 2.792. So those are your 2 answers. So if your numbers aren't the same as mine, you just have to notice where I got my numbers. I can zoom out on this one. There's only 13 questions. That's a blessing. But they're not easy when you have to type 2 answers in for the exact and the approximate. See if I can get this all in the picture. Heavy paper. Nope. There we go. How am I doing? Almost there? Oh, that's as small as I can make it. So I guess I'm just going to show my pencil there. Step 0, I added my 13 and then went through my merry way. Only thing new is you can take the log of both sides. Okay? We got 1 done, 7 to go. I'm